Hi everyone, and welcome to my guide for the Javazon in Diablo 2 Resurrected. This is one of the overall best builds in the game. I've played this as my starter and I had a blast with this, going all the way to the end game, mostly in group play for the beginning, but also in solo farming. It excels at especially various farming spots with high density areas like the cow level. So this is one of the prime cow level farmers, but it also has actually the highest single target DPS in the game out of all builds, not counting something like a Smite Paladin that is very specialized for Uber bosses. So you can kill Diablo, you can kill Baal in a matter of seconds when you're properly geared for the end game, and you can destroy the cow level, for example, or other areas that you might want to farm with ease. It is based on lightning damage and pretty much lightning damage alone, so it has one big downside, which is lightning immunities, but you can also get a sizable amount of physical damage on your build in the end game and a really strong mercenary to help you out and usually deal with them anyway. So let's jump into this with the D2 planner here. This is my original character that I have played. I went up to level 93 with this, and I have the entire skill tree here, and I also recorded how to put the points in here. In fact, I've actually leveled to level 30 as a bow character, which I would also recommend because it makes it a bit easier. You have more AoE early on, and then you do one respec after you reach level 30, so you can go to Lightning Fury. It is possible to start with a Spear, Amazon, and then go to Power Strike, and then Plague Javelin, Poison Javelin, these kind of things. But it seemed better to just go Exploding Arrow and blast right from the start. So this is very simple. You start with the Fire Arrow, and then you put the necessary 1-pointers, and then you stack everything into Exploding Arrow. Until level 30, you do a respec, and then you have your Lightning Fury. So the way this works is that you first of all want to put a few points here on the passive and magic skills. You want to get the Pierce. The Pierce is extremely important for your Lightning Fury because as you pierce, you will release more lightning, and this is where all this density scaling comes from. So the first few points are quite valuable there, and then later on you will probably get some other items that either raise your skill level or raise your pierce chance up to 100%, which can be done by the Razor Tail, for example. This one has 33% pierce, which stacks additively with the pierce from your talents, and this way you can achieve 100% pierce and completely destroy. So for the other skill points, after you have respec at level 30, you want to go for Lightning Fury and also level Charge Strike at the same time. So you put all the 1-pointers in there, and then you start leveling each of those skills at one at a time. You can actually level up the Charge Strike a bit more early on because it's a level 18 skill, but Lightning Fury you have to put 1 point every level. And you want to probably maximize the Lightning Fury first because this is your main skill, and then the Charge Strike later. But it doesn't really matter too much. It should easily obliterate Nightmare without any trouble. The only things that really slow you down are the lightning immunes, which luckily in Nightmare you're not going to encounter too often, but in Hell there are definitely quite a lot of lightning immunes around, which you mostly just want to skip if you can. Afterwards, the skill progression is quite straightforward, so you just keep putting on those points into Charge Strike and Lightning Fury until you have maxed them both, and then you scale the synergies. Both of these skills have exactly the same synergies, so you can put it anywhere you want. You can do a Lightning Strike, Lightning Bolt, Power Strike. All three of them work with exactly the same numbers, so you just scale up your damage further, especially for the Charge Strike, which gets 10% additive synergy bonus per level. For Lightning Fury it's not that crazy, but it does become noticeable at some point that you do a bit more damage because it's just 1% per synergy. So at this point, once you have maxed Charge Strike and Lightning Fury, you can put a bit more in Pierce, up to like 60% chance or so. You can also do that a bit earlier already if you want to get a bit more AoE damage. For example, when you decide to maybe farm a lot of cows in Nightmare after you defeated Baal, then you can definitely go for a few more points here first because you won't need the single target from Charge Strike too much. And this is how I go all the way to whatever level you're gonna reach. So I recorded here until level 93, which is my character and the setup that I had in the end. Now here in game, I've already respec'd my Amazon to a Boazon that I want to do a solo Uber twist time with. But I still have all my old stuff here, which I can show a little bit. And this is also the juicy things you want to look out for later. once you start grinding in hell, once you have defeated the campaign. So one of the best javelins is the Titan's Revenge. It's a very sought after weapon. It has faster on walk, it has plus extra skills, it has lifesteal, stats, and it replenishes quantity, most importantly. So this is an incredible quality of life tool, replenish quantity, and it has increased stack size. This thing can pretty much carry you through a full run of cows or similar like 5-minute plus farming sessions in some cases. Or you also have some javelins for swap. So I actually was lucky enough to find a Thunderstroke 2, which is the actual best weapon because it has this minus enemy lightning resistance, which has incredible scaling depending on the target you're hitting, especially for targets that have a lot of lightning res. Reducing it just a little bit can easily double your damage in some cases. On top of that, you actually also have some pretty decent physical damage with these, so in case you run into immunes or you have some lifesteal and mana steal, you can actually get a bit of value from this because your lightning damage does not actually leech you any life or mana. Now these weapons are definitely in no way required. In fact, for the better part of my playtime, I was actually just running with blue javelins that had nothing but 40% attack speed on them. So you can definitely just go and shop blue javelins and use those and you'll be fine. You can do so in Act 5, so you go to Mala and you can just reset her by running out of time and coming back, and you can look for javelins that have either plus skills for javelins or attack speed. I typically preferred attack speed, and this can roll up to 40% and the plus skills can roll up to 3. Both of them are fine. There are advantages and disadvantages to both, but I prefer the attack speed because it just made farming easy content a bit more smooth. You might be able to actually find both those stats at the same time, but I wouldn't recommend trying to shop for this for hours, especially here in Act 5, it's hard to reset. Now some other really good items that you can make for yourself is, for example, a Spirit Shield. This one has plus to all skills. You have faster cast rate, which is not exactly really powerful here, but you do have nice resists, you have the extra skills. This is usually what you're looking for. I was also running with a Rhyme, so this can be extremely good as long as you don't have a source of Cannot Be Frozen. So I would actually recommend this for starters and then maybe transition to the Spirit later, because I had a Ravenfrost here which also has this Cannot Be Frozen mod, which is very useful when you have to go into melee, and it helps you a lot when you're doing Bale runs who slows you, or just fighting any code enchanted elites, or even certain monsters that just slow you. And finally, another really good item is the Razor Tail, which I already mentioned with the 33% pierce. This way you can get 100% pierce, which is absolutely insane for Lightning Fury, so try to get up one. This is not even a super crazy drop. There is one better belt for single target damage, which is the Thunder God's Vigor, so I should mention that here. This is slightly better if you specialize on boss killing, or even for Uber Tristram with the Lightning God's Sword, that can be very handy. But in general, Razor Tail is the way to go because of the pierce. The rest of the items are nothing really crazy, so mostly I was running with just some resist, some crafted amulet here with faster run walk, some movement speed boots, some magic find. So all that you can get that has decent value for your character, I will just put on. For example, here on the gloves you can also get extra skills, so this is quite handy, and you can also get attack speed. So if you get like a combo between those two, similar to the javelins, then this can also be very handy. The Javazon doesn't really require any of this to be functional, so as long as you don't get completely blasted because you have no resists, you should be fine. And maybe stack some faster on walk early on as well, when you have a bit more trouble actually killing stuff really fast, because this allows you to just get to safety and maybe kite together like bigger packs as well, and just get to your destination faster for your farming routes. What you have to make sure is that you have enough stats to actually wear all your items. So if you're going for the endgame setup with a Thunderstroke and perhaps a Spirit, then you need quite a lot of strength and quite a lot of dexterity to actually wear those items. As you can see, 151 dexterity required for this weapon. It's not as bad for the Titans, which is 109, but the Spirit also is 156 strength. So depending on what kind of uniques you might want to wear, maybe like a big chest, a big helm that also has like 100 plus strength requirement, you might have a bit more of a motive to actually put so much strength. Or you just go with the Rhyme, which you can wear easily, don't need all much strength, and you just wear like easier pieces. But the dexterity is definitely required at some point. So maybe don't go for a lot early on and do a second respec once you have acquired some of those endgame items, and rather use more vitality in your other stats. Now for your farming routes, I already mentioned the cow level, which is very nice with this build, but I also found quite a bit of Niederschlag with this at a time when a lot of cold sorcerers were kind of scared to do it because of the cold immunes in this room. Here you have the issue that at least in the first level in the Halls of Pain, you have a lot of lightning immunes, but if you have, let's say, roughly 100% plus faster on walk, you can get through this quite easily if you navigate your way through the level correctly, and then you can usually just blast down whatever is in your way and kill Niederschlag quite easily too. So you have the damage to just throw at him from the distance, stay away from the cold explosions, and it will be quite easy mode. Otherwise, obviously, you could be grouping up with other people and you can be the big DPS, standing in the back, throwing your javelins, and then destroying the boss in those chaos runs or bale runs. So this is what I had been doing a lot, especially early on. So this was a very nice experience. Overall, I feel the Javazon is a well-rounded build, a bit susceptible to those lightning immunes, which you can get around with very late when you have an infinity, but this is a very expensive item, which most people will probably never get. So for the most part, you just kind of have to deal with it and ignore those pesky lightning immunes if you're a solo. But this is not really such a big deal, it doesn't really decrease your farm efficiency too much, just be careful about them. For the playstyle, it is really quite simple. So you throw Lightning Fury at range and you attack in melee with Charge Strike, especially when you're on single target. You want to do Charge Strike, you don't want to throw your javelins. You can do that with the Lightning Bolt, so once you have leveled that to 20 as well for synergies, then it could make sense occasionally to stay in the back and throw javelins from a safe distance when it's like a really tough enemy. But for the most part, you want to get in there, you want to blast it down with Charge Strike, or when there's, let's say, more than 5 targets at least, you throw Lightning Fury and it will really obliterate. The more targets there are, the more it will spread to more targets and the more damage you deal to each of them. So it actually has insane density scaling. So it could actually make sense to sometimes kite stuff together a little bit and then blow it up with the Lightning Fury, instead of throwing another 5 spears that deal much less damage. So this is something that you can play around with and that you'll learn over time once you play the build. But overall, it's not really complicated and I had a ton of fun with that. One last trick that I would like to highlight is that you can use slow missiles as a little tech option. So you can just give up 2 synergy points at some point and just put those 2 points in here, one in the side and one here. And slow missiles can definitely help you to survive certain monster types that can be quite dangerous. For example, those lightning ghosts that you might encounter in the Worldstone Keep, or just any kind of like big archer packs. You can just run close to them, cast a slow missile, and there will not be any danger to you anymore. This is not really required, but I did play around with this a little bit and once in a while it came in quite handy, so something to keep in mind. And that's also it for this video, so I hope you enjoyed my Javazon guide. Hope that you're having a blast with Diablo 2 Resurrected, just like I did. I really enjoyed diving back into this game, and with the Javazon, with the Lightning Fury, it was really a ton of fun. I actually never really played this build very much when I was young, but I dived into it now and I had a blast. So hope you will too, hope you liked that video, and I'll see you guys next time.